Welcome to the Foundation for the Study of Cycles. My name is Lars von Thienen, and we have our weekly Cycles TV once a week, Monday, same time, same place. Thanks for joining. What we are doing here on the channel is we are using our cycle analysis technique at the Foundation to have a look at global financial markets. I will pick a special instrument or special data set, and then we want to discuss for the purpose of education, learning how to apply cycles techniques to data sets and learn something from the analysis. Today we will have a look at Palladium. I think it's we have a special situation in Palladium, so that's the reason I have chosen today to keep an eye on this data set. We have often looked at the main markets, the crypto markets, so there's nothing new and special, so you can review the past sessions on that. Today is about current cyclic behavior in Palladium. And there might be an opportunity ahead. So if you are looking for alternatives in asset classes, in special assets, maybe Palladium is one to look at. So let's do this today. Today might be a shorter version, so we will just focus on that. So please join now the chart with me together on that. So the chart on Palladium looks like this. I have pulled up a weekly chart in our cycle scanner. That's the tool set we are using here at the Foundation. You will see the weekly chart of Palladium. So if you want to rebuild this procedure, you just pull this ID in the data set. This will grab the weekly data series of the Palladium futures provided by Yahoo from the dataset provider view. If you're loading this data to the scanner, you will see exactly this chart here. So our current situation is that we have a very sharp peak here in March, which is more or less the all-time high, which we also saw in April last year, so then February this year, and now we are back to this period here where it's an interesting point to discuss what's happening now with Palladium. It looks like this is, it's like a kind of, bottoming line we are reaching here just from the technical point of view. So therefore I want to pull up our cycle analysis charts together with you here on this data set. So therefore, let's do the standard procedure, what we're always doing if we use cyclic techniques. So we will scroll down to the spectrum chart of Palladium. So this is how the spectrum looks. If you are new to cycle analysis, the way how we read a spectrum is that we are looking for peaks in this spectrum, which are sharp, so which form a clear peak in the spectrum we are looking for. So that's the basic procedure how to analyze cycles, and these are three peaks we can use for our cycle projection here, which I've just marked on the chart. So the first one is seen here. So the x-axis gives us an indication about the length of the cycle, which is here and here, and the y-axis is the amplitude of this cycle in the overall spectrum. So we see a lot of peaks here in the smaller range of these data set, which is not easy to pick one of the shorter term cycles, but to inspect the longer term picture first, we have three clear pictures here in the longer term time frame here. So that's the starting point for every cycle analysis. So you will use the spectrum to spot the dominant cycles here. So the first cycle we will use is this one here, which is labeled with a length of 161 weeks. That's the first one. It has a good strength and a good battle score. The second cycle we will use has a length of 237 weeks in this case. And the third cycle had a length of 325 weeks, in this case, what we're counting. So that's what you get from the look at the spectrum chart. You will see the same information here in the upper right corner of our analysis, which is just a table view of the same information we have seen here. So we will see the first cycle here, which mentioned with a length of 161. This was one clear peak. You see it has a very high Bartle score and it has a very high strength score, even though, and we can ignore, these are just shorter term cycles with low Bartle score. So therefore you can skip these cycles here due to the fact that the Bartle score is very low. And they have also a very low amplitude here compared to the 120. So that's the first procedure, how to select these cycles. So we will now pick the one with a length of 161 weeks, which is now shown here on the chart. And just this cycle here shows us that, at least from the projection, from the point of the projection, it looks like that Palladium has reached a cycle low based on that analysis here, and is then projection a very long upturn into what we see here late 2023. So that's just one cycle here. We can now also add the other cycles on top of that mix here, which is 237 and 325. So let's look out for the 237 cycle, which is listed here. You can also see, so same procedure here, just to mark it, the 237 week cycle. We have a good Bartle score around 80. We have a high amplitude if you just compare it to the amplitude here above. And there's also the 325. So let's just discuss these two cycles. You also see good amplitude compared to the other ones. So the other ones have very small amplitudes. And also the Bartle score here is very low. So in the 20s, 50s, 40s, 20s, 30s, very low Bartle score. So you can skip these cycles here. Same procedure here down below. Very low amplitudes here and low Bartle score here. So that's invalidate. That's the same, just based on numbers, as we have seen in the spectrum. I'm just repeating the same procedure so that you are able to follow this procedure here. How to invalidate which cycles to use and which cycles not to use. So I hope it makes it clear from the visual perspective of the spectrum down below, but you can come to the same conclusion if you just look at the tables, the Bartle score, the amplitude, the length. It's just a matter of what you prefer, looking at plain data, which is the table view, so you can gather the information just from the table. Or if you like more visual confirmation about the triangle, the color, and the peak in the spectrum, which gives your brain at least two ways of validating cycles, the pure mathematical table view and the visual view, which might then combine two views, which will help you to select these cycles. Okay, but we will then pick these 2, 3, 5. And that's another important information we just get from switching between these two cycles. I will make the picture higher. So right now, we just have one cycle, the 161 week cycle. While we will add now the second cycle to the mix here, and I will switch it on and off so you can see what happens to the projection. You can see that there is no real difference in the projection if we move ahead in time, right? So you see the low is somewhere here and the top is somewhere here. And it doesn't matter if I switch this cycle on or off. At least from the current situation, there's no change. Yeah, so just observe on and off. So we are at a low projection of the cycle. There's just a slight change in regards where then the next top might occur. But in regards of time, it's just the question if we talk about October 2023, which is here, or if we talk about January 2024. So that's the only difference if you use these two cycles. And The general reading is there is no difference. Both cycles project a current low or bottom in this data set, with a projection late into 2023 earliest for the next top. So now let's add the third cycle to the mix here. And you can even see I will now activate and deactivate also the third cycle from the spectrum. You see from the low point here, again, observe these this low projection point here while I activate and deactivate the cycle. The low projection is I think we had a short interruption. So what I just wanted to mention is that we don't see a difference if we pick 3 cycles, which are currently picked here, 161 weeks, 237 weeks, and 325 weeks, or just 2, which in the low projection is still the same, or just 1. Yeah. So that's the interesting point. What you should always do, check the composite, just selecting 1, 2, or 3 dominant cycles into your mix. Sometimes the projection might flip around from complete different projections, or in other situations, it will not matter if you pick 1, 2, or 3 cycles, the projection will stay the same, which gives you more confirmation that the projection you do seems to be a stable one if it's not jumping around just based on 1 cycle or 2 cycles or another cycles in the mix. So this looks like a very stable projection. The first reason stating that is we have clear peaks in the spectrum just from pure cycle analysis and digital cycle analysis, how to pick from that spectrum. It's a clear separation of cycles, so it's a sharp peak. It has a clear separation of amplitude, so these 3 cycles of their amplitude in separation to the lower end cycles here. So we have separation in sharpness of the peak, we have separation in amplitude, and these 2 cycles have, in addition, good Bartle score, indicated by the green triangles here. And the strength, at least of this, is very high. So our basic procedure gives us clear indication about these cycles. And then second, if we build different combinations out of these cycles, we still get the same projection into the future, which gives us a very valid forecast without variation, without alternatives, without variant A or B. There's 1 projection. Doesn't matter if we pick 1 or just 3 cycles. So that's the basic procedure, what we're doing, how to apply cycle analysis to any data set. It doesn't matter. I'm just picking here because we have an interesting situation here in this particular data set. So now, before we move into the projection area and discuss the projection situation, let's zoom in a little bit and cross-check and validate if past changes in this composite cycle also correspond to major bottoms or major tops in the underlying data set. The cycle projection you see here, and I need to repeat this if you're new to this form or to this method of analysis, the cycle projection, which is plotted as an overlay here on the chart, gives us information about points in time where we would expect a change in trend in this data set. The projection of these cycles does not give us an indication about absolute price targets to the upside or to the downside. So even it looks like there are turns in absolute price ranges, this is not used to conclude or to draw any conclusion on absolute price targets. We are only looking for the points in time when the composite cycle changes its direction at these points. That's what we're looking for, without any knowledge, at least from this chart, without any knowledge about the absolute price targets to the upside or to the downside. I always repeat this information that you don't overlook what we're doing here. So we're looking for points in time. So now let's go over this chart here and see if past tops and bottoms are in alignment with major turns in the market. So that's what I always do, and I always want to bring this a way of how to do the cross. So here's the top, which is closely aligned with this cycle here. So then the next low is here. So we will connect the price top with this low here. So then we get, I would ignore this period here. There's no real top, there's no real low here. So let's give that. The next important top is here, which is, I mean, it's not in sync perfectly, but it's somewhere here in this area. So we will connect this here with a possible high here. Then the next low, this point here. Then we would connect this top with this point in price here. Then moving down to this situation, then we have a nice peak here to this period here. Here you could read it if you would like to. So this low aligned with this low here, then an interim top somewhere here, and the low connected here, and then we have the sharp increase here up to this top, this point in time here. Which is now exactly at this low here, at least if we read this projection here. That's where we are. Current observation here. It will make it more clear if you zoom in for sure, yeah? So you see that these, so it looks like if you scale out that these swings are just small swings here, but if you zoom in, you will see that, and I need to clean it up a little bit. So if you zoom in a little bit more, you will see that even this smaller peaks here, so I've just zoomed in now for the period between the year of 2000 to 2015. Yeah, so that the connections of price align much better with tops and bottoms if you see it in the relative scale and not the overall scale with all data. So it's always a matter of zooming in, zooming out. That's what I would recommend to do to get a confirmation about the correlation of changes in trend of the composite to the correlation of changes in trend in the real data set. So, and we have a very good correlation between these changes in trend. I mean, they are not exact, but keep in mind, we are talking about a long-term projection here based on very long cycles. So 160 weeks is the shortest cycle here. 161 weeks. This is an almost 3 years cycle we're discussing as a shortest cycle. So we can't time on a day based on these cycles, but we can spot areas of time where we would observe special behavior. Yeah, and that's the conclusion I want to outline now for today, because this is a special situation in Palladium we have now, today, as we're doing this analysis here. So if you're looking for just different asset classes than just the standard assets you might look for, and that's from a cycle analysis perspective also what you're looking for. You can scan different asset classes and look for opportunities where we are from a point in time at interesting situations or interesting junctures, which we have regards to Palladium. Now, you need to add additional knowledge on top of this cycle analysis. I know some colleagues which have observed some special behavior in the underlying asset of Palladium in regards to trading behavior, but that's not the place to talk about that. And I would encourage you to do your own research on current market environment for Palladium, a technical situation on Palladium price, and maybe current trading activities around these markets. And then you can draw or should draw your own conclusion. For sure, you need to take into account your individual risk management, which might be different. But I hope you see that from the cyclic perspective, we have a clear picture on Palladium today. So that's it for today. We had a 20-minute cycle analysis, which is what I always try to do here. Keep it short and clear and to the point. Today you had an outlook on Palladium. I will stay in the chat. I will just have a look at the chat section. So if you want to discuss some cyclic questions, let's discuss it here. Monthly cycles on gold. I don't have a monthly chart at hand, but we can have again a relook at gold and other commodities next week. I just need to prepare some long-term data set. In regards to software, just a short answer on that. So what we're trying to do at the foundation, our objective is to provide you as users a very simple interface, not as a standalone, but as a web-based cycle analysis platform for all members of the foundation, that you are able to do the same what we hear on the channel as a member of the foundation. And to be honest, in standard charting applications, TradeStation, multi-charts, TradingView, whatever you try to use, this kind of analysis is not available, and it's often not easy to do in these charting applications. That's also a reason why we started to provide this outside of different charting applications. Charting applications are very good at their main purpose, but it's not easy to do digital signal processing with different views on the results than just plotting indicators. So therefore, Remy, it's not as easy to answer it with a broader view, but it's this simple answer. Christian, I noticed the cycles have larger slopes than others. If this is a sign of momentum strength. Yeah, I think the slope is a matter of also the amplitudes of the underlying cycles, which also changes over time. So the amplitudes or the slopes you mention is a mixture of amplitude change versus time. So we use this and to build this strength information. Maybe, Christian, to get back to your point, just a short information or discussion on your subject here in regards to the slope, or what I would highlight is the so-called strength information we have also here in this table, which gives you an answer. So this is the amplitude divided by length. So it defines on how important the cycles is per data point or per time frame step you have. So in that case, it's per week. So the change of amplitude per week, it's called strength, because the higher the strength value, the more important the cycle is in regards to the impact on price change. And that's similar to maybe what you discuss or want to discuss in the as a slope. So maybe have a look at the slope, or what you observe as a slope in regards to what in the table is shown as strength information, which then might a little bit give you some direction in regards to momentum, or what we call what's a more dominant cycle. So the dominant cycle is the cycle with the highest strength, which is driving price the most. Or maybe in different terms, and you can research a little bit on the relation between strength, amplitude, time, and slope. I just tried to give you some short hint on that, Christian. Platinum next week. That's correct. It's similar to that. Yeah, let's do it next week. So then maybe let's have next week some additional commodities like platinum, gold, and the other commodities. I just want to keep it to the point for today on Palladium, but well as I will promise to put platinum in the mix for next week, Monday. Tiffany, yeah, thanks for your comments. Yeah, sure. Also, my colleagues and the different views on cycles is very important for us. So follow this channel and other shows we will provide, like Science Summit, like Finance Summit, like Digital Signal Processing. Thanks for pointing that out, Tiffany. GameStop drawing tools. Yeah, we are a little bit careful adding more and more features to the tools. It would be possible, But the more tools you put into a platform, the more we get into the position of providing tools and then also providing maintenance and support for these platforms. But we want to keep it focused on cycle analysis. But we monitor your requirements, and for sure the development roadmap will be influenced by comments like you, GameStop. So we take this into account. German DAX, Christian, yes, it's also interesting. However, I always start with the more global situation or the US indices, because I think even the DAX is somehow related to international global US markets. But for sure, once we have the global picture from the US markets, we can then also compare and see if it might give us a different situation in the DAX index. We need to find time for that. So next week, commodities, maybe then in 2 weeks, the DAX, but I will take this to the notes. Shorter time frames. Here's a question also on shorter time frames. Yes, for sure. On this channel, we are focusing here on daily and weekly time frames to keep it simple, or that and also that everyone can get some opportunities out of that. But the same technique and the same method and the same tools we're using here are working on intraday charts, like 1 hour charts, 30-minute charts, or whatever. So in regards to the time frame, the method or the algorithm does not make any difference. And our research shows that it still works good on up to or down to 20-minute charts. I would not recommend to go lower than 1 hour, 30 minutes or 20-minute charts. For sure, from the mathematical point of view, it also works on 5 minutes and minute bars. But there's a lot of noise. Yeah, the lower you go on the time frame, the more noise is in the markets. So it will get harder and harder to detect the dominant cycle out of a lot of noise in this data. And therefore, at least the method we are using here is not prepared to deal with more and more noise. But 1 hour, 30 minutes, 20-minute charts still work. You just need to provide this data on your own. So you need to upload 1 hour or 30 minutes charts into the platform on your own. So we don't provide intraday data to make this happen. But if you have intraday data, you can use the upload feature and then analyze your intraday cycles. So that works, yes. Wallace, if you learn on market cycles, I think that's a good starting point. Perhaps to just repeat what I showed on Palladium, so that you are able to get yourself acquainted to that. Second, that if you're not doing cycle analysis, at least this channel will highlight some asset classes. If you're just interested in cycles and asset classes. And the third topic is, for sure, I'm here to discuss your questions and try to give you some answers to increase our knowledge on cycle analysis. So that's why we are here. That's why I'm running this show again, every week, every Monday, same time, same price, same time. Why I'm talking about price, I don't know. So please join us next week, Monday. Please like, please follow, please recommend this. We want to spread the knowledge on cycle analysis. That's why we are here as foundation for the study of cycles. Thanks for it today. See you next week.